24 ships were sent to the bottom of the Arctic Ocean, not by a battle, not by a torpedo from Germany's most powerful battleship, the Tirpitz. They were sunk because someone thought it might leave port, and in 1942 that one ship had become Britain's obsession. Churchill was furious. He sent his shortest memo of the entire war to his First Sea Lord. 3 words: "Where is Tirpitz?" That memo tells you everything you need to know about this ship. The most powerful battleship in Europe spent nearly 3 years hiding in a fjord, and the mere possibility that it might do something was enough to reshape the entire Allied war at sea. Britain launched 24 operations to destroy the Tirpitz. Bombers, torpedo planes, human torpedoes, midget submarines, carrier aircraft, a completely new bomb invented specifically for this one ship. Over 200 Allied deaths, nearly 5 years. And when RAF Bomber Command Chief Arthur Harris was finally ordered to finish the job, his response to Churchill was 2 sentences. "Why bother? She's not doing any harm where she is." Harris was right, Churchill did not care. This is the story of the most obsessive naval hunt in history. It starts with a simple question. How does a ship that barely fires a shot become the most dangerous warship in the world? It was the sister ship of the Bismarck, and Britain had already seen what one of these ships could do, but this one was bigger, heavier, better protected. Over 52,000 tons, the heaviest battleship ever built by a European navy, and this time the Germans made one crucial decision. They would not risk losing it. The Tirpitz went to Norway and stayed there. From early 1942, the Tirpitz was anchored in Norwegian fjords, hidden beneath cliff faces, surrounded by torpedo nets, anti-aircraft batteries and smoke generators that could cover the entire battleship in seconds. The Germans had learnt the lesson of the Bismarck. The Tirpitz would not fight. The Tirpitz would simply exist, and existing was enough. Churchill understood immediately what that meant. A battleship of this size sitting in Norway could sortie at any moment into the North Atlantic, where Britain depended entirely on supply convoys from America to survive. Every convoy had to be escorted by capital ships powerful enough to fight the Tirpitz. Those ships could not be used anywhere else. One battleship sitting in a fjord doing nothing was tying down an entire navy. Churchill sent a memo to his chiefs of staff. The greatest single act to restore the balance of naval power would be the destruction or even crippling of the Tirpitz. No other target is comparable to it. The hunt began. Between 1940 and 1942, Bomber Command sent wave after wave of aircraft against the Tirpitz. Different aircraft, different plans, different approaches, and every time, nothing. The bombs missed, the armour held, the smoke screens worked, the mountains swallowed the attack routes. The Tirpitz sat untouched. In March 1942, the Tirpitz made her one and only serious sortie, leaving the fjord to intercept a British convoy. A carrier launched 25 torpedo planes. All 25 missed. The Tirpitz turned around and went home. It would never seriously enter the war again. It didn't need to. Because in July 1942, Convoy PQ17, 35 merchant ships left Iceland bound for the Soviet Union, carrying tanks, aircraft, ammunition and food. Then British intelligence received a report. The Tirpitz had left the anchorage. The Admiralty panicked. First Sea Lord Dudley Pound sent 3 messages in quick succession: withdraw the cruiser escort, the convoys to disperse, the convoys to scatter. Within hours, 24 of the 35 ships had been picked off by German submarines and aircraft, one by one. 3,300 vehicles, 210 aircraft, 430 tanks, all at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. And then a detail I had to check twice when I found it. The intelligence was wrong. The Tirpitz had not actually sailed. The battleship was still sitting in the fjord. Not a single one of those 24 ships was sunk by the Tirpitz. They were sunk by the fear of the Tirpitz. It never needed to fire. Churchill called PQ17 one of the most melancholy naval episodes in the whole of the war. Britain redoubled the hunt. A human torpedo mission came within miles of the Tirpitz before rough seas ended it. Both operators were captured, both were executed. The Tirpitz was untouched. By September 1943, Churchill approved Operation Source, one of the most audacious missions of the entire war. 6 British X-craft midget submarines were towed 1,200 miles across the North Sea, then sent in alone through the fjord defences to place explosive charges beneath the Tirpitz. 2 were lost before reaching Norway. 1 vanished completely. 2 got through, penetrated the nets, placed the charges and detonated them beneath the hull. The explosions caused massive damage. 2 Victoria Crosses were awarded. The Tirpitz was still afloat, still in Norway. After 6 months of repairs, still a threat, still doing nothing, still winning. At this point, any reasonable person would ask, how is this ship still there? In April 1944, 6 Royal Navy carriers launched 41 bombers in a surprise attack. 15 bombs hit the Tirpitz. Over 100 crew were killed. The battleship still did not sink. 3 more carrier raids that summer all failed, with smoke screens, bad weather and bombs that failed to detonate. The Royal Navy gave up. The task was passed to the Royal Air Force, and this is where Arthur Harris said something almost unthinkable. Harris looked at the situation, the failed raids, the wasted aircraft, the years of effort, and told Churchill directly, what? Why bother? She's not doing any harm where she is. And in a purely military sense, he was right. The Tirpitz had not fired at an enemy in any meaningful way. The battleship was sitting in a fjord, going nowhere. But Churchill was not fighting a military problem anymore. He was fighting a psychological one. The Tirpitz did not need to fire. The Tirpitz just needed to exist. And as long as it existed, Britain could not breathe. Harris was overruled. He sent his best, number 617 Squadron, the Dam Busters, and number 9 Squadron, and he sent them with something new. The Tall Boy, a 12,000-pound earthquake bomb designed by Barnes Wallis, the same man who designed the bouncing bomb used on the Ruhr dams. Not designed to hit a ship directly, designed to burrow into the earth and detonate underground, sending a seismic shockwave powerful enough to destroy anything above it. A weapon invented because nothing else had worked. In September 1944, the Lancasters flew over 2,000 miles to a Soviet airbase and attacked the Tirpitz in Kar Fjord. 1 Tall Boy hit the bow. Catastrophic damage. The battleship could no longer sail at full speed. The Germans moved the Tirpitz south to Tromsø, a floating gun battery now. Not a warship. Still not sunk. Still there. On October the 29th, another Tall Boy raid. 2,250 miles from Scotland. 30 seconds before the first Lancaster was ready to bomb, an unexpected wind shift covered the Tirpitz with cloud. No direct hits. The Tirpitz was still there. November the 12th, 1944. Operation Catechism. 30 Lancasters. The Dam Busters and number 9 Squadron. Last chance before the Arctic winter closed in. The bombers flew north at low altitude to avoid radar, then climbed as the Norwegian coast appeared below. 20 miles out, the crews could see the Tirpitz clearly, sitting in the fjord, surrounded by snow-covered mountains. Perfectly still. The German fighters scrambled too late. There was no smokescreen in time. The first Tall Boy hit, then a second. A column of smoke rose 300 feet. The Tirpitz listed badly. Then the ammunition magazine exploded and the battleship rolled to port and capsized. 10 minutes after the first bomb hit, the Tirpitz had turned completely upside down, with only the hull visible from the air. Around 1,000 crew were killed. Nearly 600 survived. Rescuers cut holes through the upturned hull and pulled out 87 men alive from air pockets inside. The hunt was over. 4 years, 10 months, 24 operations, nearly 400 aircraft, 2 executed torpedo operators, multiple Victoria Crosses, a weapon invented specifically for this one ship. And here is the ending nobody talks about. After all of that, the wreck of the Tirpitz was sold to a Norwegian salvage company. They spent 9 years breaking the battleship up on site. The steel plates from the most hunted battleship in history ended up as road paving in Norwegian cities. If you have ever walked on a road in Oslo, there was a chance you walked over the Tirpitz. Around 1,000 men are still inside what remains buried in the mud of Tromsø Fjord. The site is protected as a war grave under Norwegian law. A small monument marks where the battleship once anchored, a ship that barely fought, that forced an empire to reorganise its entire navy, that destroyed a convoy without firing a shot, that took 4 years and a new weapon to kill. Not because of what it did, because of what it might do.